One thing I've noticed watching the Arena World Championships, the Frost Mages never looked panicked. Even while being heavily focused, even while under pressure, they kept doing the same thing over and over. Positioning, control, damage. And honestly, it almost looked slow. Not because the game was slow, but because they were controlling the pace of the match. That changed the way I started thinking about Frost Mage PvP. My name is Atum Sphinx. Welcome to the channel. You have entered the battleground. Here we talk about Frost Mage PvP, battleground strategy, leveling, guides, and the mindset behind becoming a better player. All the music you hear on my videos is my own. You are free to use it, just credit Atum Sphinx. One mistake I think a lot of Frost Mages make is believing the class is supposed to feel chaotic, especially when you're getting focused. But after the Arena World Championship, and after really paying attention to how elite mages move, I started realizing something. The best Frost Mages are not the fastest players. They're the calmest. They don't panic blink. They don't overkite. They don't stop casting under pressure. They slow the game down mentally, while everybody else speeds it up. In this video, I want to break down some of the biggest things I learned from watching elite Frost Mage gameplay. How they position, how they maintain pressure, why Spellsteal is still one of the strongest tools in the game, and why even though I love Frostfire, I think Spellslinger is currently king. Because the biggest lesson I learned watching the elite Frost Mages is control the tempo, control the match. One of the biggest differences I noticed between average Frost Mages and the elite ones is movement discipline. A lot of players panic move. They run too far, they kite without purpose, they blink instantly the second pressure starts. But the World Championship mages weren't moving randomly. Every reposition had intention behind it. And something else I noticed, they were almost always casting, even while under pressure. Not greed casting, not reckless casting, but controlled casting. That's a huge difference. A lot of Frost Mages stop doing damage the moment things get stressful, but elite mages create windows to cast. That's what all the control is for. You have slows, you have roots, your nova, your positioning, your polymorph. They're not just defensive tools, they create the tempo. And honestly, I'll use myself as an example here. I love pressing my spacebar. I love making my character jump around. It feels active, it feels fast, it feels like I'm doing something. But realistically, a lot of that movement is unnecessary. Every time I'm jumping around randomly, that's time I could be casting. That's time I could be repositioning with intention. That's time I could be controlling the pace of the fight instead of reacting emotionally to it. Once I started watching these other Frost Mages, I realized how efficient their movement actually is. There's very little wasted motion. Everything has a purpose behind it. And once I started understanding that, I stopped viewing Frost Mage as a runaway and survive spec and started viewing it as a control spec that dictates the pace of the fight. Even in battlegrounds, because battlegrounds can feel chaotic, but the best mages still simplify the game mentally. Who's the real threat? Who can I control? Who is overextended, which is a big one? What cooldowns matter right now? Where is my next safe casting position? That's the mindset you need to have. Honestly, I think this is one of the reasons so many Frost Mages struggle when they start getting focused. They think they need to play faster, but usually they just need to slow down. Another thing elite Frost Mages understand better than most players is that control is damage. A lot of people separate the two. They think, I'm either controlling the fight or I'm doing damage. But the best Frost Mages are doing both at the same time. Every slow changes positioning. Every root creates pressure. Every polymorph creates momentum. Every counterspell creates fear. And one spell I think way too many mages underuse is Spellsteal. Spellsteal is honestly one of the strongest abilities in the entire game when used correctly. Because sometimes the best way to gain pressure is to remove someone else's. Stealing hots from a resto druid, stealing freedom effects, stealing shields, stealing offensive buffs, stealing defensive buffs before the burst window. And honestly, stealing Blessing of Freedom from Paladins is one of my favorite things to do as a mage, because not only are you removing their mobility tool, you're giving it to yourself. That kind of momentum swing is massive. That changes fights. And the higher level you go, the more important utility becomes, because elite players are expecting damage. What they don't want is disruption. Frost Mage is one of the best disruption specs in the game. Honestly, if you want to improve in arenas specifically, I highly recommend getting some kind of cooldown tracker or diminishing returns add-on, especially for polymorph, because one thing elite players are constantly tracking is DRs. Knowing when polymorph is full duration, knowing when a healer is vulnerable to CC, knowing when major defensives are down, that information matters. Battlegrounds are super fun because they're chaotic, and honestly, I love Battlegrounds, but arenas really expose your fundamentals, your awareness, your timing, and your control. And add-ons can help train your focus until it becomes second nature. That's why I think Frost Mage has such a high skill ceiling, because yes, you can play it like a burst caster, but at higher levels, it becomes a tempo control spec. You're disrupting positioning, disrupting cooldowns, momentum, decision making. Some of the strongest pressure you can create as a Frost Mage comes from making the enemy team uncomfortable, not just low health, but uncomfortable. Because when players start panicking, they make mistakes. And Frost Mage is one of the best specs in the game at forcing mistakes. Now let's talk about Frostfire versus Spellslinger. Honestly, this one hurts a little bit for me personally, because aesthetically, fantasy-wise, fun-wise, I love Frostfire, and I know a lot of you on this channel love Frostfire too. Some of my biggest PvP videos have been Frostfire gameplay, and honestly, I completely understand why. There's something about the spec that just feels amazing. The visuals, the fire and the ice combination, the big glacial spike moments before the nerf, the aggressive pressure style, it feels powerful. And I honestly think Frostfire is still incredibly fun in Battlegrounds. But if we're talking about pure competitive consistency right now, Spellslinger just feels cleaner, more controlled, more reliable, less dependent on massive setup moments. And after the glacial spike nerfs, I think Frost Mages really have to understand something important. You cannot build your entire identity around one big hit anymore. Your pressure has to become more complete. Your positioning matters more. Your casting uptime matters more. And honestly, that actually aligns perfectly with what elite Frost Mages are already doing. They're not just waiting around for one giant damage window. They're constantly creating pressure. Small wins, but controlled momentum. That's why Spellslinger feels so strong to me right now. It rewards consistency. The consistency wins games. Now, that doesn't mean Frostfire is bad. It's far from that. I still think Frostfire is fun. I still think it can dominate. And honestly, if you love Frostfire, play Frostfire, because being comfortable on your spec matters too. I also don't want this video to come across like don't play Frostfire anymore. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just giving my honest opinion after watching more elite gameplay and paying attention to what consistently performs under pressure. But if someone asked me right now, what do I think is the strongest overall for competitive Frost Mage, I would probably say Spellslinger. Not because it's flashier, but because it feels more stable under pressure. So overall, the biggest thing I learned watching elite Frost Mages is that Frost Mage is not really about panic. It's about control. Control of positioning, movement, momentum, and control of tempo. The best mages are almost always doing something with intention. They're casting, repositioning, tracking cooldowns, watching diminishing returns, using utility, and creating pressure. I think that mindset alone can completely change the way you approach PvP as a mage, whether you play Battlegrounds, arenas, Frostfire, or Spellslinger. Now, also, if my voice sounds a little off in this video, I've been a bit sick recently. I also took a little bit of a break for the past couple weeks with everything going on in life. So now I'm getting back into the gearing grind again, getting caught back up, and getting back into making content consistently. I'm really excited because I've got a lot more PvP videos coming, more guides, more discussions, more Frost Mage gameplay, and I also want to start bringing a little more real-life content and conversation onto the channel as well. Not replacing the WoW content at all, but expanding the channel a bit as a whole. For those of you who have been asking for more direct conversation, guidance, or support outside of the videos, I also recently opened a Fiverr page for one-on-one emotional support and life guidance sessions. So if that's something you're interested in, the link will be below. As always, thank you for watching, thank you for supporting the channel, thank you for supporting my music. This is Atum Spinks. I'll see you in the next battleground.